So I wanted to do, for my first Bible journaling tutorial, I wanted to do a verse about joy. So I was looking at Nehemiah chapter 8, and there is a verse in here about joy. Just gonna look it up. Now you're gonna have to excuse me. Oh, here it is. For the joy of the Lord is your strength. It's Nehemiah 8:10. And that's one verse that I've always loved, and so I thought, you know what, this is beautiful. I'm gonna journal that one, and I'm gonna use some of the simple elements that I'm used to using already, because this is a tutorial, so I don't really want to branch off into anything that's too new. So I'm gonna use some of my regular drawing elements and show you how I do them. Now, as you'll notice, which is kind of interesting, is that I have essential tremor, so my hands shake a lot. So you have to excuse the shakes, but I think it's pretty cool that God can use me in spite of my shakes. And I really love that about Bible journaling. So let's get started. I'll show you some of the simple lettering techniques that I use. And it's nothing fancy. These are just things that I picked up off the internet from looking at other people's writing styles and some of the things that I've been learning from watching YouTube tutorials. So you might say, hey, I've seen that writing style before, and you probably have. So it's nothing new. It's not my own creation. So I'm going to go, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Nehemiah 8:10, it's the second half of the verse. So let's get started. I have to turn this. When I was in school, I always had to turn my book because I'm left-handed, and so I've got these two to rest my hand on. So let's see, right here. I'm going to put the joy. So what I do is, now I'm going to try to move my hand away every couple of seconds. T is pretty normal, but when I do the H, I like to do my extenders. When there's more than one, I like to do one of them shorter than the other so that I can tuck letters underneath. I mix up capitals and I mix up small letters. So I'm going to do a small E, and the only two small letters I usually use are the E and the Y, and sometimes A. The E, the Y, and sometimes A, but mostly just the E and the Y. So here you'll see see my shaky hands? It's crazy. My mom said, how in the world can you Bible journal with your shaky hands? And the answer is, I don't know, it's just God's grace. Okay, so I'm gonna put the O a little bit higher. I like to do a little swirl. And here's why. My Y is a small Y, but I keep everything on the same line. Okay, the joy. Here we go again. Of. The F, I like to cross it right across. The. See, when I make the extender on the H small, it's kind of cool because it always tucks in under the T. And when I go over this with my micron pen later, it's going to look so much better. The joy of the. Okay, so that's how I usually make my regular font. Now this is a little bit of a fancier font, and someone had told me one time, if you want a fake calligraphy, you thicken all of the downstrokes. Well, I thought that meant all of the up and the downstrokes, but let me show you, it's only the downstrokes. So I'm going to write Lord here. I write it in regular cursive writing. L, keep everything fat and far apart. O, give a lot of space, nice fat loop there. So this is what cursive writing would look like if I was writing Lord. You see how I also angle my strokes? Getting a little more used to angling my strokes. Now, what it means by every downstroke is like this. Here, I go up and then I go down. So I want to thicken that stroke that goes down. Just yesterday, I kind of decided not to thicken them as much as I usually do. So I'm just going to thicken it a little bit because I think that looks so much prettier. You see how I've doubled that? Now this one, I go down and up. So the down part right there, I want to thicken. Boom. There's a double line. Now, the Lord, up, down, give it a little thickness there, up, and here, down, thicken it there. I'm going to fill those in later and they're going to look really cool. Then up, down. Okay, so I'm going to give this one a little thickness on the way down, up, and right here, down. Okay, the joy of the Lord. Once that's filled in, you're going to like it. Now, is just a straight line. My S's are shallow. They don't have too much of a curve to them. And then my, let's see. I'm just going to put is my on this line. Here it goes. I got 2 extenders here, so I'm going to put one at the regular length, one short. And the reason is it makes your font look like they're kind of bouncing around the page. And then here's that small Y, just a regular Y here, and it goes under with a bit of a loop. The joy of the Lord is my, and let's start about right here. Shallow S, a T. I can tuck the R underneath there. Here we go. R. I like to do things shallow, and the R I bring in under the E, a small letter E, but it's the full size. See, it's a lowercase e. And then, I'm gonna have 2 downstrokes on the end, so I wanna keep one of them short and one of them long. G, I make it small here, a little bit bigger at the bottom part. And the reason is because then it kind of tucks underneath the T here. See, I probably should have moved that whole word over a bit, but I didn't. So, the joy of the Lord is my strength. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase it, and I'm going to move it over a bit. 1, and that's fine. I'm used to erasing a million times. Okay, so I'm just going to do it a little quicker than I have. I'll start my S over 1. S. T. R. E. Try to keep it all over, I'll remember. Oh, I'm getting close again. G. Bigger here. Strain. T. And the H tucks in, so it's over a bit, and the S started over. So that looks better. So I'm gonna, I'll go over this with my black pen now to show you how it looks, and then I'll finish the rest of the thing on a different tutorial so that we don't have too much on one. Now, see how my hand's so shaky? When I'm able to rest it on the page, it's better. But also because I'm showing you right now, then I'm getting a little more shaky than I normally would too. Don't really tell anybody, but I just had caffeine, and so if I didn't have the caffeine, I'd probably be better too. But yeah, it's called essential tremor, and it makes me shake, but God can still use me in spite of all of my problems. Obviously, He's doing that right here. And I love that I can still worship the Lord, and I really like what one person said in our Facebook group. She said that Bible journaling is her way of worshiping the Lord, and that's kind of the way that I feel when I'm doing this, you know, because I'm always going to remember now that Nehemiah 8:10 is the joy of the Lord is my strength. It helps me to memorize scripture. See, I always knew this verse, but I didn't really know where to find it, but because I'm writing it out and I'm coloring it and everything, it's a real good way to memorize scripture. So if you have kids, you might want to get them to do a bit of Bible journaling too. If you want them to memorize scripture, it's a really good way to do it. Oops. I'm going to fill in those downstrokes here. Is my... What I'm using here, and I'll list my supplies in the description. It's a Micron 05 pen. I prefer Micron 01, but for some reason I find that they always skip. So I've just decided to go with the Micron 05. It's a tiny bit thicker, but it's still thin enough for me. So it's a Micron 05, and the reason I love it is that I can paint over top of it and it doesn't smear like a regular pen would smear. And Sharpie pens, they kind of go right through the page. Sharpie, I was like, not a good sight when you look at the back of the page. So just finishing this up. Strength. Take my eraser. I want to erase all my pencil lines because once I get that watercolor on there, if I don't erase the lines now, they're going to be sealed inside the paint. So this gives me the opportunity to erase them now. Get them all out of there. And now I'm going to fill it in. You could fill this in with a black pencil if you like. Maybe I'll do that this time. I haven't done that before, but I might as well. Let's see what I have. Get off my squeaky chair. Around. I have 1,000 pencils. Do you think I'd be able to find one black? I can't. So I'll use pen right now. And here I go turning the page again. Because I'm left-handed, so I like to rest my hand on something. That's why I keep books close by too. Just to rest my hand. We'll be done this tutorial in just a minute, and then I'm going to get to the coloring. So here I am filling it in. I could never do calligraphy, the real thing. I've tried, I've got the pens, and I've really tried. I've given it my best effort, but it never seems to turn out. But being able to draw it and fill it in like this and just pretend that I'm doing some calligraphy, well, that always works for me. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm actually pretty new with lettering, and so as you can see, it's not perfect. You'll probably find better tutorials around the internet. But people in my Facebook group, Bible Journaling, asked me to do one, so here I am. I still got some pencil lines on The Joy of the Lord is My Strength, but we're gonna go